What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of the Rich and Turbo Heavy Half Hour. Today you just get me, Rich. You can find me on X at FuzzDoomRip and all over the other socials, doing reviews from Musipedia of Metal and as a Doom Charts contributor. This is a very special episode because we have JB Matson, the founder and curator of the Maryland Doom Fest, which is coming up this weekend, June 19th through the 22nd, and is the final Maryland Doom Fest. So, JB, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me.
Absolutely. Knowing that today is the 17th and the show is on the 19th, thank you for taking the time out, given it's probably a crazy time for you. So tell us about this, the 11th edition of the Maryland Doom Fest. I obviously know some of the highlights looking at the bands on the list, but can you give us a little bit of a rundown of what to expect for the 11th and final edition of the MDF?
This year, due to crazy visa issues, everybody is international. I mean, they're all from the U.S. Some of the headliners are local. My whole goal, Rich, was to promote bands that weren't being promoted, to bring awareness to bands that needed to be brought to your attention. I mean, great talent, and there's so many bands. I mean, this year will mark about 520 bands that I've hosted.
Wow.
And this year I've got the Skull from Chicago, which is used to be Eric Wagner, who has passed away. This is also going to be a tribute to all the folks we've lost over the last few years. And it's a long list. It's a real long list. And so it's paying tribute to them. It's the final year because of multiple reasons, but mainly because I think I've accomplished my mission. The whole reason I started this in 2015 was because I saw the Maryland Doom scene starting to diminish. And it was just fading away, and all the bands had stopped playing, and nobody was reuniting. So I did it in 2015, and I got all these bands to reunite. And I had Internal Void, I had Spirit Caravan again, and with the original drummer for the Incest, and I had my old band from 25 years ago now, Outside Truth reunited. Got a whole bunch of bands to get it back together. I had the original Asylum, which became Unorthodox. And if you haven't seen the video of that, then you're missing out. So every year I got bands to reunite just to play the Doom Fest. So that was a highlight of it. You know, I got Captain Beyond back together, and they came and played for us. And ultimately, it's typically 50 to 55 bands over 4 days. And over those 4 days, the big boys are about eight bands. The rest of them are ones that need to be brought out to your attention. And it worked because I saw bands skyrocket after they left the Doom Fest. And other festivals, some of my mentors like Walter from Roadburn, he would see what I was doing. He'd capture certain bands that I had, promoted, showcase, and then they'd go over there and fly over to Tilburg and play his festival, which was pretty awesome. Awesome. So
it's very cool.
Ultimately, I'm just done because the mission accomplished, and I'm going to do bigger and better things moving forward. And people will hear about that when it's time to be announced.
Very cool. It's interesting that you say that about bringing bands back together. You look at some of the big festivals, and I live in Central Florida, and I went to Welcome to Rockville, which is a different level of festivals. But the interesting thing is, they had a whole section of bands that they were bringing and working to get back together to play the show. And I feel like that's maybe something that you started and kind of got that trend going from a festival standpoint, because I hadn't necessarily seen that in some of the biggies that are out there before. So that's pretty cool.
What a great trend that is, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Loved, and you have their albums, and you're like, they're the greatest. And so I wish they were still together. And then to bring them back together and see them live, it's special.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Now I'm looking at this year's, obviously, Legions of Doom and the Skull. There's some synergies there, obviously, with those bands that are playing. We've had a bunch of the bands that you have on here on our show. We had Crystal Spiders on the show, Holy Roller on the show, and again, these are bands that people need to hear more of. But anybody who you would specifically call out that you're very excited to hear for other people to hear that maybe they're not getting the exposure that you would think that they would deserve?
I had Compression, which is a band that I was fanatic about in the early '90s. Had their CD, listened to it about 4 million times, and then never heard anything from them again. And then I found out that they were getting back together, and they had released another album called Army of the Ants, and they played last year, and it blew me away. Had them as a headliner, and unfortunately they can't play, but I still want to call them out because that was one of my favorite bands. And when I actually got to meet these guys and let them know how much they influenced me, and then they played last year and really brought it. And I heard these songs I hadn't heard from the early '90s live. That was fascinating. There's another band that is still on the roster, and they are local. And I don't know how familiar you are with the Maryland Doom scene, but we are like a big mixing bowl of musicians. Everybody's played with everybody. We've all been in 6 bands. We've all been in 6 bands together, blah, blah, blah. There's a band called High Noon Kahuna.
Mm-hmm.
And they played last year. And I gave them a good slot, but not the headlining slot. And they had a performance that was like a headliner. They kicked my ass. I was so impressed with them. I said, you're coming back next year. You're playing really late. You're going to play on a good night. And that is a band you definitely want to check out.
Yeah, I love the last record was This Place is Haunted, right? That was the last.
Yep.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. I had that pretty high up on my Doom Charts list, so that's very cool. Is Sons of Arrakis still playing? I know you said most of the bands are U.S., but are they able to make it down from Canada and show?
Yep, Sons is coming down from Canada, and they're playing Friday night.
Excellent, excellent. And just looking at the list. Apostle of Solitude. Like I don't think they play out all that often, right? Is this a relatively rare show for them? Because I know that they've kind of been on and off again and whatnot.
They're my boys. They are. I've known those guys for a long time. Played a lot of shows with them. This is, I think, their 4th or 5th time playing Doomfest. Because they always bring it, and they're one of the bands. As I say, hey, you guys want to play? And there's no thinking about it. They're like, we're there. They're headlining this week, and I can't wait. They're excited. They're a great promoter because they're very excited about coming to Maryland. It's a haul for them, but they also bring a whole bunch of their fans from Indianapolis, and they're a fantastic band. Even though they're headlining, that's another band, Rich, that I think does not have the notoriety they deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. They have so much great material. Like they have so many great records. They've been around for a long time, and only a small kind of portion of us who kind of have some of that inside kind of knowledge of these amazing doom bands. That's one that I would definitely call out there. And when I'm looking at some of the new bands that you have that are kind of lower on the list, for example, I had Day Tripper on the show, and they came on my show in full, like they were in character, in their robes, in like the den of where they create all their potions, and they were just they were great, super fun, and that album's really fun. So I imagine that'll be an interesting show, given they're kind of low on here, but I have a feeling they're going to make a big impression.
I think they're great. I think they're the one of the toughest jobs I have is taking 55 bands and having to give everybody a different slot, on the roster. And I've never actually had a single band ever complain. If they were the first one on Thursday, they're ready and they bring it. And Day Trippers is where they are because probably somewhere in the time frame of when I got the negotiations done with them, that I'd already had 53 signed and 2 left. So they got put in a slot that they probably don't deserve. But I know they're going to bring it. And one thing I can say about Doomfest is that people come early. They're excited about 55 bands, and they want to see 55 bands. And there's no bands that are playing for 3 people.
That's awesome.
Sunday nights are our best, if you believe that or not. You would think that that'd be the night that everybody's all wore out and they're not coming. But Sunday nights have been the I guess the best night of every Doomfest.
That's awesome. You would not expect that. Especially with people of a certain age who might have to work the next day, and they're thinking about that. But it's very cool that doesn't come to mind, and that winds up being the best day. Also, just a couple of bands that I am big on that I want to call out. Just Coma Hole. I would love to see Coma Hole live. They seem like they would just kind of shake the whole place up with their kind of low end, and really, really dig what they do. They're kind of a grungy, doomy band. Have you seen them before? Have they played the show before?
This will be their third time, I think. I met Erica online a while back, and I saw some of her art that she was showing on Facebook, and invited her to do the artwork for Maryland Doomfest. So every year I get a different artist every single year to promote. That's another talent that I want to promote. And she came up with between her and I, we came up with the 2020 poster, and the 2020 poster was great, but 2020 was canceled because of COVID. So then we ended up doing 2021, and to her respect, kept the same art, changed the colors, did 2021, Coma Hole played, and they kicked our ass, and they're coming back again this year to kick our ass again. I think they're already on the road touring. And while we're talking about Coma Hole, I would like to do a shout out to how many females have gotten into the Maryland Doom scene. I mean, there are a lot of female-fronted bands. There's a lot of bands that have female guitar players, drummers, bass players, and if you were to do the research on it, it's more than you expect. It used to be all men. Maryland Doom scene was a bunch of dudes. Not anymore.
Yeah, I'm looking at just off the top of my head. Obviously, Crystal Spiders. Obviously, Wind Rider. Just Coma Hole. Just very quickly off the top of my head, looking at those bands, it definitely has branched out, and that's extremely cool. The amount of really awesome female-fronted doom and stoner bands right now it's just amazing, and it's so great to see, and just kind of broadening out that horizon, and the bands that are coming that you're able to, it's not just a bunch of dudes hanging out, which is extremely cool. Looking at putting together something like this seems like it would be both the most amazing feeling and the most terrible job in the world, given how much stuff goes into it. And I'm sure because you did it for 11 years, the amazing outweighs the terrible. But do I have that right? I mean, I'm sure that there are real highs and lows in this, but I'm sure it's also like a double full-time job to manage something like this.
It is, Rich. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's when the fest is over Sunday night at 1 a.m., I am probably already calling somebody for next year for something different. Typically for the 11 years, it's always been preparing for the next Doom Fest. It's all year. It's all 365 days. Yeah, it's got its bad points. If you have to deal with 55 tour managers, or if you have to deal with 55 agents, and the emails and the calls and the questions and the negotiations, and can you fly my boys there, and can you give them this, and as a musician myself, I get it. I want to take care of these guys. I want them all to come. I want them to say, dude, I played the Maryland Doom Fest. They took care of us. We ate, we drank, we had a place to stay. They paid us well, and we want to come back next year. And it's worked really good for a decade. But the memories I have, you can't replace that. Seeing some of these bands that reunited and be able to stand right in front of them, because we are a very, very disclosed crowd at Doomfest, where it's not a big stage with guys standing there looking at you with mean faces. No, you're standing right in front of the guy that's singing, right in front of the guitar player. Seems like all the musicians, I don't know if they just kind of like relax at Doomfest, but they walk around and they meet people and they talk to people, and everybody's like, I was just having a conversation with a wino, and it's a good time. It's a good time. I thought the accolades that I get after the fest for like the first week or two explains it all. I mean, everybody's just, it's an amazing feeling. There's a lot of camaraderie. There's never any problems. Everybody's hugging. Everybody's happy. Everybody is just bowing to the riff.
That's extremely cool, and I think it says a lot. I think almost every band that I mentioned, you're like, oh, this is the third or this is the fifth time they've played, which is kind of a testament to what you just said. Like literally, people want to come and play the show, and I'd imagine in other circumstances that's not always the case with all the negotiation and the minutia that goes into it. So kudos to you to like have people excited to come and do this more than once, because it seems like that kind of family atmosphere, and it's not just, it's completely less about the business side of it and more about just getting these guys here to play and kind of promoting and pushing these bands and Maryland Doom, etc. Am I on point there?
You're on point there, absolutely. Every band wants to do anything they can to promote themselves. I think we do a really good job promoting. We do the fancy artwork. We make it so that it's bling in your face and makes you have to read what it's about. All the responses we get after the fest are a huge part of why people keep coming and they want to come back, because there's memories that you can't change, and that goes for musicians too, because they come there and it's a 4-day fest. Well, you're playing Saturday night, but these guys will come for all 4 days, And
fans too, as fans, yeah, that's awesome.
Got 45 minutes to play out of 96 hours. So, and then they're meeting people and they're selling their merch and they're pushing their thing, and it's important because right now music is a tough business.
Yeah, it's I can only imagine, and doing my little tiny stupid podcast takes a little bit of time, right? I can't imagine what it takes for people who are musicians and doing their thing and spending all this time and their own money, and how little financially it comes back to them. But just obviously, you and musicians are not doing it for to be millionaires. You're doing it for the love of what you do it for, which is something I think that is, I don't want to say unique to the scene, but I think is more paramount to the scene, because it's just for the love of the music.
You are 100% correct.
So you mentioned...
I didn't start the festival to make money. I didn't want profit. I wanted things that I have a passion for to be exposed, And I mean, I'll be honest with you, Rich. I've lost money every year I've lost money, and that's a part of why I've got to stop, because I just keep losing. But that's not what's important to me. I wasn't doing this for profit. Mission accomplished is my whole thing,
So when you say mission accomplished, one of the things you mentioned was the memories that you have. Is there a single one or a couple that you would call out as the pinnacle moment for you for Maryland Doom Fest? Something that you, and this could be a lot of them, but something that you stood and watched and you're like, holy shit, I made this happen. This is the coolest thing. I can't believe this. Or just one particular memory that you would stick out if somebody said, give me one example.
I can slam 5 at you probably.
Do it, please.
Captain Beyond out of 10 years is the most memorable performance I've seen with Bobby Caldwell, and it was incredible. I mean, I remember looking around at the audience and standing next to me. Everybody was in a daze. We were all going, holy shit, That was one. When the original Asylum reunited and Earl came from California, which was unorthodox, that was insane. It was perfect. There's no way to explain it. And that was the very first Doomfest. Spirit Caravan. And at the time, Spirit Caravan and The Obsessed, neither one were playing. And I got with Wino, and I ended up finding Ed Gooley, the original drummer from the Purple album, The Obsessed, and even got a hold of Mark Rao, the original bass player, but that didn't work out. So Sherman played. Rest in peace. That was an amazing show.
So before you move on to that one, so you were actually not only booked them to play, but you actually had to find the individual musicians and put them together for that show?
I was trying to get the original Obsessed together. They played under the name Spirit Caravan because Dave Sherman played bass. But Ed Gooley came out, and that was pretty crazy. There's a story behind that, because Brian Constantino was Ed Gooley's drum tech way back when I was young, in the 90s. And when I got Ed Gooley back together with Wino, he called Brian and said, hey, I need you again, man. And Brian came and set up his drums and tuned his drums and even tuned my drums. And then when Ed couldn't play anymore, he had health problems. Brian was asked by Weiner, hey, you think you play a couple songs? Well, Brian happens to be the biggest obsessed fan on earth. And he got up there and he played every song perfect. And of course, he's been with it since, which is it's a pretty cool story. Going on, Conan. Conan came up to Europe and they blew my face off. I mean, I was right in front of them, and that was an amazing show. So, I mean, those are some of the top ones for me. Internal
Very
Void
cool.
did their last show ever at Doomfest. So, yeah, a lot of memories.
That's just amazing. And like you said, money be damned when you have that kind of experiences to go back on. Have there been? It sounds like a huge love fest, and I'm also very cognizant of the fact that this is not an easy thing. Did you ever run into any situations where you just were pounding your head against the wall and you were like, it's just not worth it? Like, this is ridiculous, and the demands or anything like that. I have a feeling it was probably few and far between, but just interacting with all of these, like you said, agents and whatnot, I assume there were some scenarios that weren't great either.
Well, probably only like a million times. I don't want to call. I mean, some of the things that surprised me is when I'm getting some of the bigger acts that I wasn't prepared for the amount of maintenance that was needed. Jinx Dawson from Coven is a priestess,
Oh,
and she's been around forever. And I was very, very happy to have them play, but it was high maintenance. It was like everybody's out of the room, nobody back here. She's coming through, nobody can look at her, and I'd clear out the whole back room and she'd come through. And when she went to the stage, she was surrounded by 8 people and had a veil over her face. And it was cool, but everybody's like, "Who is that?" I said, well, that's Jinx. I mean, but that was something kind of unexpected. Now I bang my head off the wall usually because of managers, tour agents that want to do all they can for their band, and they try to get everything they can possibly get, which is their job. But yeah, it makes me bang my head off the wall because I'm like,
no.
I'm not the Taj Mahal, I'm not. We don't have 80,000 people coming to Doomfest. But yeah, I mean, all in all, no, it's to me, it's always been worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the positives outweigh the negatives, but you deserve a lot of credit just for doing this for 11 years, hanging in there, and promoting just the music that we all love, and without really wanting anything except to do that and to promote and push these bands and help in every way that you can. I was going to ask you, and you kind of answered it for me, why this was going to be the last one, but and I know you said you're going to announce what you're going to do after this. How much do you think you're going to miss it?
A bunch.
Yeah.
Because after doing it for 11 years, it's kind of like my daily thing, So that's why I'm just going bigger and better. That's all. There'll be a countdown clock on our Maryland Doomfest page. That'll count down till something happens in about a year. Maryland Doomfest is done. Maryland Doomfest Presents is not.
Okay.
So you're never going to go to another Maryland Doomfest, but you will have things that are presented by the Maryland Doomfest and the people behind it, and the staff behind it, and the sponsors, and it's just going to be bigger and better. And it's
Excellent.
And I'm not telling anything but that. Okay.
That's fine. But will you come back and tell? And when the announcement's made afterwards, will you come back and talk about what you got going on?
9 months.
Excellent. Love it. So, just to finish up with the 2025 edition, can people still get tickets? Are there still tickets available? If so, how can they get them? And what should they know when they're heading over to Frederick, Maryland?
Okay. Tickets are on sale till midnight tomorrow for the weekend passes, which is a pass for all 4 days. It's $139. It's roughly $2.50 a band.
you can't get a better deal anywhere for anything.
Right. Nightly or bi-nightly tickets are only available at the door. So if you're only coming for Friday and Saturday, you got to get your ticket at the door. We've never sold out, so that's not a fear that anybody should have, except for maybe this year. I think a lot of people that have been lazy and said, I'm going to get out there one of these times. I'm going to go to that damn Doom Fest. And they never did. Now they know it's the last one. It's either now or never. So I'm hoping people will come. People will come. So don't be silly and just assume that you're going to get a ticket. I don't want to see that happen. Be early or get your weekend pass. Weekend pass means you're guaranteed to get in. They're on Eventbrite. You go to any of our social media pages. You go to Facebook, Instagram, our website, which is MarylandDoomFest.com. All the information's on there. I think it's important that people know that the Super 8 of Frederick is our main lodging facility. They give a 15% discount to all attendees. That's where I put the bands at that I provide lodging for. And we provide shuttles to and from. So there's no DWIs leaving Doomfest. I don't know that I've ever heard of one in 10 years.
That's just another detail that makes what you're doing so cool, because I'm sure that that's not something you could say about a lot of these other things that go on from festival standpoint.
A whole lot of my passion, Rich, is because I'm a musician. So I've been in bands for 30 years, and I've submitted to all these festivals, and nobody replies. Nobody calls you back. Nobody even replies to your email, and it used to frustrate me. I was just like, "What the heck is wrong?" I mean, at least be courteous enough to say, "No, you suck," or something. But I've made it deliberate that when people contact me, that they get the response. They at least get acknowledged. If you email me, I will email you back. To me, that's important to converse with these people and don't just leave them hang because I'm the big fest promoter. No, I'm not.
Well, JB, thank you so much for joining the show. If anyone is in the Maryland area or somewhere near it or wants to drive there, June 19th through the 22nd, the final Maryland Doom Fest. The bands are amazing. I don't even need to read to you because you know it's going to be amazing anyway, but The Skull, Legions of Doom, Paso Solitude, Vanishing Kids, Crystal Spiders, Witch Pit. I mean, so many. 55 bands. Something for everybody. And JB, thank you for all you do. Thank you for all you've done for the scene. Thank you for being so cool to join the show. And just good luck with this edition of the festival. And we can't wait to hear what's next afterwards.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Absolutely. Thank you. And look forward to seeing some of the videos of what goes on. I wish I could be there. But I will tell you this. Whatever you got going on next, I'm going to make my plans to venture out to whatever that is. So I'm looking forward to it. But for now, everybody, check out Maryland Doom Fest, the final one this weekend. And JB, thank you. And very nice to meet you.
You too, Rich. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Talk to you later.